Hello and welcome everybody, and thank you guys for joining me again. My name is Wilkie and I'm here with a New World video, and these are things that I wish I have known before playing New World. So let's dive right into the first one. The first thing that I think is kind of important to understand is that the level system, or what leveling actually affects and what it doesn't affect. So the first thing is max level is level 60. As you can see, I'm currently level 35. So I'm like halfway through the leveling process, if you will. What leveling up does, it grants you attribute points, as you can see here. It also tells you pretty much what your points are basically spent into. So for example, you have 5 base stats and everything else, and you can see that I dumped almost all my entire point stack into focus points here. So leveling up is the classic way of pushing your character's attributes, which will then have various effects. The other thing that is also affected by your level is the equipment and the weapons that you can wear. What I mean by that is gear has a level of requirements in this game. If we're just taking a look at this NPC here, I have different kinds of equipments and they have different kinds of base level. For example, we have a sword here that is like level 15. Then if we go to the next tier, that is level 20. If we take a look at the sword, there we go, requirement level 20. And if we go further down the line, you can see that the level requirement goes up. This is also linked to power, if you will, because the better your gear is, obviously the better the stats are going to be, and the more bonus effects and stuff you will have. But this is strictly limited to your level, and doesn't really affect how your weapons or your actual damage output is going to be. It's only a part of this. This actually puts me into the second thing, which the weapon system and how the weapon system works, which I think is incredibly important to understand, especially if you're new to the game. So, New World uses a dual weapon system. As you can see, I currently have a bow equipped, and now I can switch to my hatchet. So you can wield 2 weapons. You can't simultaneously wield them, so you can't like dual wield them. But those 2 weapons are free to use, even if you have cooldowns. If like, let's say I put this skill on cooldown here, I cannot switch out my weapons. It'll tell me that I cannot change equipment while any abilities on cooldown. So you can't like have all of the equipments in your inventory and just switch them out. That doesn't work. Those 2 weapons, however, can be freely switched as long as you have them equipped in. So this is also a very interesting system and also kind of important to understand. The reason why I think the weapon system is so important to understand is because the power of the weapons is not directly derived from your attributes, but actually the weapon mastery itself. And weapon mastery is, just imagine it as the weapon getting XP for being used themselves, which is, well, basically that's what it says. If you use a weapon in both PvE and PvP, you gain experience or weapon mastery, what it's called here in the game, and that unlocks skill points. For example, my hatchet is the highest level weapon, which is why I have a whole lot of skill points here already. If you take a look at my bow, I only have 4 levels in the bow here, which grants me 3 skill points. So, using the weapon for both PvE and PvP is how you level up the weapon, and this is, in my opinion, by far the most deciding factor of how good or bad your weapons are going to perform, because without skills, your weapons are going to be quite terrible. And I will just show you here, for example, there we have a wolf. It's a low level, but it doesn't really matter. You get the idea. We're just going to shoot him. Boom. We actually just missed him. And now you can see that I got bow mastery, and if I were to kill it again with my hatchet instead, I would get hatchet mastery. So this is important to understand. The last thing that I want to give you for this thing here is try out every weapon that you can find. It doesn't really matter if you like the weapon after like using it 5 minutes or not, but just get to use it. Each weapon has a completely different moveset. Each weapon has completely different skills, auto attacks, light attacks, heavy attacks. So for example, if you take a look at the hatchet here, we have like a light attack chain, you also have heavy attacks, and you also have heavy charged attacks. If I switch to the life set, for example, I have like a charge or like a heavy attack and like a quick shot. And the same pretty much applies to the bow. If I were to equip my bow again, I now have a mode where I can actually charge or fire like in a proper fashion. Then I have like a quick draw stance, and then I can also even draw my bow to deal even more damage. So definitely try out weapons. See what you like, see if there's something that you enjoy. If you don't like the auto attack animation of this weapon, just try out something different. It doesn't hurt. The weapon experience is linked to each weapon alone, so you're not losing anything. Just try it out. So the third thing that I think is rather interesting or important to understand is that the game uses a weight system very similar to any Dark Souls or Souls-like game if you ever played any of that. For example, if you take a look at my inventory. Right now, my equipment load is a light. While wearing light armor, my dodge is a quick roll and covers a lot of distance. I deal 20% bonus damage. You can pretty much see where the breakpoints are. Anything below 15, I don't even know if it's kilos or what the weight limit actually is. Anything below 15 weight is considered light. Anything above 50 and below 30 is considered medium. And anything above that is considered heavy. So, as I said already, very reminiscent of a Dark Souls game. Light armor or lightweight basically gives you a light roll. If we were to push out, for example, this one here and put on a heavy armor, now we're in medium. So we now no longer have the roll, but sort of like a hop, if you will, like a shirt hop. So this doesn't cover as much distance, but still gives you like a fairly nice dodge. And you also get the perk of having now being in medium armor, which means you now deal 10% bonus damage. So you actually deal less damage than with light armor, but your control debuffs, so your CCs, your slows, your stuns, your roots, now actually last 10% longer. So you trade off a little bit of damage for a bit of more CC duration. Also keep in mind we're wearing heavier armor, so obviously our resistance is going up. And if we're just going to dump all of this here and we're going to put on full heavy armor, so there we go, boom, heavy armor, now we're in the heavy load. I wouldn't even call this a dodge, this is more like a stumble. So as you can see, distance covered is really, really low. It's also fairly slow, but this is what the heavy dodge looks like. And now we have no bonus damage anymore, but your block stability is increased by 15%. So basically, if you want to block, this is now going to be more sturdy. And also your debuffs or your CC now last 20% longer. So this is a trade-off to keep in mind. The very gist, or the very important thing to remember here, though, is that this does not affect your running speed. So whether you're light, medium, or heavy armored, your running speed is always going to be the same thing. It's all about the dodge roll, which is, I think, the main or the key point when choosing armor sets. And also the bonus damage or the bonus CC duration. Running speed is not affected by this. A rather convenient thing, or a thing that is especially early on interesting in the game, is that you can reset both your weapon skills and your attributes. The problem here is that respeccing, I think the point is, I think it's level 20 where the breakpoint is. Respeccing at my current point costs me 200 gold coins. If you take a look at my inventory, I currently have 2,490 gold coins. So it's almost 10% of my current wealth. Truthfully, I'm not a big farmer or not a big gold hoarder, if you will, but keep in mind that respeccing on and off, especially later in the game, will cost you quite a bit of gold. Early in the game, you can respec for free, so incredibly similar what I said, or I think it's important to try around and see what kind of stat perks you want. Obviously, you won't ever push this up here early on in the game, but try out to get to like level 50 in terms of like 50 points and see if you like the perks. Also, actually take your time and read those perks and understand how the game works and how the game functions. Like I said, similar to the weapon perks, I can respec my mastery points in each of these weapons. Again, these weapons are separate, so respeccing my spear will actually not affect any of my other weapons. Respeccing, I think 11 is the point. So for example, if I were to respec my hatchet, I have to spend 50 Azoth, which is a resource in the game. If I were to, example, respec my Ice Gauntlet, for example, though, it doesn't cost me anything. So very similar to the stat points. As low as your weapons are, if you have them, like you can see that almost any weapon is being used here outside of the Warhammer, the musket, and the Great Axe, not really that much. I pretty much used any other weapon to some extent, and I think you should do so as well until you figure out or find a weapon that you actually enjoy, especially since resetting stats and skill points is free of charge at the start. So the last thing that I want to give you guys underway is that everything you do, be that combat, farming, harvesting, fishing, anything, crafting, is a so-called trade skill. This reminds me a lot of the early days of 7 Days to Die, in case you ever played this game. So any activity you do actually gets better when you do it. For example, if I were to chop this tree, you will now see after a few seconds here that my lumbering or my logging will actually go up. So if we can find a target here again, There we go. There's another wolf that I want to shoot here. Now, not only do I get XP and standing and some other thing, I can skin this animal now in order to level up my skinning. Virtually anything from harvesting, logging, mining. I actually didn't do any fishing or furnishing, and also jewel crafting, but you can see weaponsmithing, armoring. There's a lot of things to do in this game, and I definitely think it's important to understand the purpose of all of these. And at least as a baseline, you should be doing tiny bits of each of those activities, because for certain quests, unless you have a friend or somebody that you can buy it from, you will actually need those activities as well. So definitely try to at least get like a baseline understanding of the life skill traits, of the crafting system, and everything that is entailed around with. The final thing that I want to give you guys on your way is the teleportation system, or how TPs are working, and why you should actually pay attention to that. So if you are in the main town, or at so-called lodestones or fast travel locations, which are marked with these like double arrows, which is like a fast forward button from your old tape recorder if you want to. So inside of towns, you can actually click on any other town that you've visited before, and you can click on fast travel. Fast travel also costs Azoth, which is the currency that we used earlier in order to reset skills. There are a few things that I think are very important to understand here. First of all, there's a base cost to it. Second of all, there's a distance cost. Since this is basically my neighbor town, the distance cost is 0. If I were to TP, let's say, to First Light, for example, then you can see that the distance cost is already much, much larger. What a lot of people didn't know, and myself included, I didn't know either, that the encumbrance cost, or that there is a dependency on how much weight you actually carry around in your inventory. So right now, if I were to teleport to Wolrd, it would cost me 19, or in total 20 Azoth. So let's just dumpster what I have here into my inventory. You can TP when you're overweight, so let's do it that way. And if I were to TP now, you can already see that the price went up. So keep this in mind. Obviously, if you're transportation, or if you're transporting materials around in each different town, then you have to bite the bullet and you can't really do it. If you're just doing it for quest purposes or PvP or anything else, just try to dumpster everything you have into your market or into your warehouse, because that'll reduce the amount of Azoth that you will spend teleporting around. Before I actually go into the outro, I want to give you guys one bonus tip, which may or may not apply to the actual launch, since, like I said, this is the closed beta. Whatever build you're using, whatever weapons you're using, whatever stats, whatever armor you're wearing, I highly recommend to carry around a hatchet in your inventory. Level doesn't matter, nothing on the hatchet matters. The main reason you want the hatchet is because of the skill Berserker. Now, the skill on level 1 isn't really all, I mean, it's already pretty strong if you think about it, but the magic happens here with On the Hunt, increases movement speed by 20% while in Berserk mode. You travel a lot in this game, and by a lot, I mean a lot. At the start of the game, you will walk around the starting areas, and you can't fast travel until you've visited a town. So for example, I could teleport myself to Brightward or Reaver's Fen, but if I want to go to Restless Shore or Morningdale or anything, I can't TP here, because I have to visit it first. And that means traveling and walking. And walking in this game is an activity that you want to speed up as fast as you can. And like I said, the armor type itself doesn't change the fast or the movement speed or the running speed. Berserker, though, however, does. And trust me when I say, this will make your life and your journey a lot more comfortable. If you're traveling around from A to B, just dumpster whatever secondary weapon you have, put the hatchet in, and then just put the Berserker buff on. For 15 seconds during that buff is running, you're going to be running a lot faster. Why am I getting attacked by this dude while recording a video? God bless! This is going to be horrible, so let's not fight this. I do want to thank everybody for watching this video. I do hope that this was at least somewhat helpful, and that I may see one of you guys on one of the European servers in the world. Last but not least, I will probably play this game, as you can already tell by now. And outside of that, I do wish you guys stay safe, stay healthy. If you want to see me live playing games, then feel free to check out my Twitch channel below. I also stream occasionally there as well, so feel free to check that out. I'm gonna see if I can duke this guy out or not. So take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.
I'm gonna get attacked. Won't do my words, I'm stating fact. You want me to take you back, you want me to take you back, you want me to take you back, you want me to take you back.